Alright, so I've gone ahead and made an investment in welding. I bought a welding table from weldtables.com, a Certiflat welding table. This is the cool one with all the little holes in it, which helps you align everything real nice and neat and clamp things down to the table in a real efficient manner. So I bought the table, which is this guy right here, and it's a 3x4 table, 3 feet by 4 feet, and then I also bought the associated legs to go with that table. According to the description, these should have wheels on them, casters. The legs were $150 worth of wheels, and that's a pretty good deal for me because they're like precision cut and everything should just line up and I just weld together. It saves me a lot of time and really money. I mean, by the time I bought the materials, it's pretty close to that. All right, so first thing, opening up this box on top. We have got in there, it looks like some sort of pallet wood kind of thing going on. And there's our table. So it looks like it comes sort of assembled, but like on a pallet wood there. All right. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing on the ground. This package by itself weighs 144 pounds, by the way. So there's our tabletop. It comes in this pallet wood here, sort of frame, holding everything together. All right, you can see how they got the pallet just screwed together right there. We've also got a couple bolts in there as well, holding the thing together. What I'm used to using is this guy right over here, which is a very small remnant of material, and this is 1/2 inch thick. So it absorbs a pretty good amount of heat and stays nice and flat, and it's great for small jobs. And I'm quite happy with that, but I'd like to do some bigger work, so therefore we've got this table here. All right, so when you order these things, they make them to order, so they don't have them just laying around. They wait till somebody orders them, and then they make these things, and then they ship them out to you. So they say it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get your table. It took me probably a little less than 2 weeks, a week and a half. All right, so the idea is that there's these two pieces. There's this big flat top here, and then underneath there's all those cross spaces we just looked at, and that those tab in to these little slots up here, and then we just compress all these together, clamp all this stuff together. I've got a whole bunch of these guys here. Clamp this together, and then we weld in these little tab areas right here. Fits, should. I think that will work. These are 2-inch pipe clamps. So that's what I've got right there. It fits diagonally like that. These are 2-inch spaced holes, which clearly this is wider than that. This gap here is actually like 2 3/4. All right, so these wood screws that are holding these pieces of wood together to sandwich them together, those are just like a Torx bit head on those. They're like a T25. All right, so then my plan is to take these off, stick them up through here, just like this basically, so they go up and through the one hole and then cross over and then push against the little cross over the braces right here and sandwich all that together. Alright, so I've got a nice little bulge in the middle of this table. We can see how much it lifts on that side. Look at that. Which I don't think is uncommon with these tables when you get them. So you're supposed to clamp down in the middle first and then check out the outside edges. Worry about those later. Alright, now I don't have any clamps on the table, but you can see in this center brace here, you can see the light, how there's no light over here, right in this section right there. And as you move over, You get a light gap there, bigger light gap, bigger light gap. And look at how much of a gap that is. And then gap, gap all the way across, and then right to the edge, the gap closes over at the edge. Alright, I've been fiddling with this quite a bit. I've got a clamp down on each section here that had a little gap in it between the top plate and the braces, and everything looks like I've got all the gaps closed at this point. So I'm trying to flip this over and hopefully we've got what we need. Alright, so after struggling with this table, and flipping it around a couple times and, you know, spinning it around up on top of the counter there, the bench, I finally ended up with it at this position, just sort of leaned up against the bench. I was finally able to get it flat, sitting like this. And ergonomically, this is a lot easier to reach around and everything and access the thing without having to move it at all. I can just leave it as is and access all sections of it. This was a lot easier, and now this thing is flat. A tube across here, man, and it's nice and solid against the bench everywhere I put it. And this is a crucial step, is what I've learned through my first experience ever with putting one of these tables together, is that you have to get a straight edge and put it on here and figure out what is going on with the table, because it's not flat. This table is not flat when you get it. And then when it's in its separate pieces, it is not flat. It has this, the top here is all kinds of wavy and big waves, like it goes, and you can't just throw these things on here and just bolt them all down and have the thing be flat automatically. You do that and you end up with like little crests in the middle and things, and it's very nuanced, is what I learned. It was what I figured out, is that you have to come in here and you have to fine tune it like a guitar or something. Like, you know, you come in here and just a little bit here, check your flatness, going across and be like, okay, all right, and then a little bit there, and you fine tune it until you get it straight here. And then you move up here and you try and get it straight there, and you fine tune, you fine tune, you fine tune, and then, okay, we're good there. You keep moving up in little sections, and that's how I did it, little sections at a time, and then you come across here, and then another little section, and you just keep adding on these little braces, these little clamps as you go, and you go, all right, well, like I basically did it where I started in the middle with these guys here, and sort of put those on there, tighten them down a little bit, and then I didn't have any clamps at all on the outside. And then I put this on here, and I was like, okay, cool. Now I've got it so it goes concave a little bit in the middle, where it was just where my flat edge here would stick up just a little bit in the middle section here, and it would have contact on the end. So I knew that the center section was tighter than the outside section. This was sticking up a little bit. So then I put the clamps on the outside, and I would tighten them down real slowly, and then until I finally got to the point where this thing was like flat all the way across, and I finally got it there. This took me like 5 hours to figure it out. It took me 4 hours or so, 4 to 5 hours to figure it out, playing with it and everything, doing it the way I've seen other people do it, and then an hour once I had it figured out to actually like put it up here and like fine tune all these little things and go through the whole process. Now we're at the point where we can freaking weld this thing. Alright, so now I've got all these guys here tacked in, just these little tiny tacks on all of the little straight line little tabs on here. all the crisscross tabs are underneath these guys here, and I haven't done anything with those. I'm going to leave those clamps on, and I'm going to go in and go the same pattern, sort of working from the inside of the table towards the outside in a crisscross pattern. It's the same thing you would like torque stuff down. And I'm going to go ahead and start filling these in. All right, so now I've got most of these things welded in, not completely fully, but like this, where I've got like half of it filled in, and that should give it a nice solid structure. I'll go in later and fill in the other half, but then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start removing some of these clamps like in the center here, and then I'm going to tip this whole thing up and put it up onto the bench again so that I can weld the outside edges and things a little bit easier. The little straight tabs, all those guys are finally welded up on this thing. Finally got all the little clamps off. All right, so the legs are all in here. So let's open this thing up and see what we got. All right, so here are our legs. Get that guy out right there. Bam, bam. It's got the little notches on there. Same thing on that side. That. And then on the other end, ooh, look at all that stuff that's going on there. There's this guy, which is similar to the first ones, but longer. Basically like so. We got 4 of those guys with little notches, cutouts in them. We got 2 of these guys with little fun little ends on there. And then we got 2 of these, same ends, but longer. We got 4 casters, 4 bolts, and then we've got 4 of these little tab things to be welded on to the bottom for the legs, it looks like, yeah, or for the casters. So it looks like how these legs work is that we've got the little slots right here, we've got the little tabs over here, and these kind of go in the bigger portion down the bottom there, and then slide up and lock, sort of kind of lock in there. Oh, alright, so you can either do wheels or just have the bolts on the bottom. And thread the bolts in there like that, and that's your leg to stand on. And then you can adjust these in and out to make sure everything is level, or you can put the wheels on. I'm going with the wheels because everything is being mobile. Everything in the shop is mobile. Let's ground down the surface there. So this nice shiny metal. And now I'm going to... Alright, so in order to hold the bolt flat against this thing, this is probably the best way to do it because the magnet sometimes interferes with the welder and causes an erratic arc. Whereas if we just do this, it'll hold it nice and tight against there, and I can get in here and just go zip and throw a tack on there and we'll be good. And the weight will just hold it down for us. Alright, I've got me bolts welded up now fully. I've got all of them done over here, and next we're going to move on to welding those onto the bottom of these legs here. Nice. I gotta say, it is pretty neat the way these things are cut out and everything, because this just fits right in there perfectly. It's quite lovely. Alright, with the caster bolts welded into the ends of all my legs here, I'm now going to get the rest of the legs and everything all cleaned up for welding. Alright, and then now we've got to get this table down onto the floor, and then we'll turn it upside down, and then we'll rearrange the legs on top of it and see if we can start welding stuff together. We're on the ground. We are on the ground. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and try and assemble things onto the table. So everything is sort of like that at the moment, legs sticking straight up. And then you've got the little cutouts here. We've got one on that side. We got one on that side so that each cutout is facing the cutout on the opposite leg. These are pretty sweet the way they just slot right in. This is actually pretty cool because the way these are cut out, if you do it upside down like this, gravity will push these down to where you want them to be ultimately. Alright, and then I'm just going around with my speed square here to see if I can, to make sure everything, these legs going up are straight. They seem to be pretty darn close. I've got a magnet over here to keep this one steady. This does wobble a little bit, so this could be off. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put a tack on this guy over here, and then we'll move around to each leg and tack these up. Alright, and now with all the bottom portion here tacked up in each corner, I tacked 3 points in this leg down. So this is, I mean, these are all, I checked them all with the speed square. Nice at 90 degrees going straight up, so that's what we want. And then up here, I'm going to do the same thing. Check this with the speed square and the magnet and get everything aligned, and then tack all these 4 corners in. Alright, so we got all the welds done on the legs and the leg support braces going around here. I still haven't fully welded up anything down here. That's still just tacked in. I'm tempted to turn the table upside down now. I am at this point going to go ahead and put the wheels on here, the casters, stick them on. It rolls around quite nicely. I've gone ahead and welded up all the spots on top of the table. Everything is welded up now. And I've also gone ahead and attached the table to the legs right here. I just put a little tack at the bottom of this brace here and the bottom of the brace over there to hold this table onto the legs. I would imagine that's significant unless I'm tossing this around, you know, tumbling it around on a truck to get it load this thing on and off or something, and maybe that will break. Maybe those welds will break, but I think they're fine. But yeah, table is done. I'm super happy. The wheels are a lot of fun to roll this thing around. Other things I want to do before the end of this video is make a little angle grinder holder, like a little rack thing that goes along the one end here that I can hang all the angle grinders on, and maybe put a electrical strip or something on the side here to plug them all in, and some sort of floor on the bottom here so I can make use of storing things underneath here. Man, now all I have to do is plug this one outlet in, this guy here, and then I can pull all these things off and grind and whatever, and flap disc and wire brush on the table by just grabbing the stuff off my rack here and going to town. Alright, for a little shelf on the bottom of the welding table, I have some leftover pallet rack shelving here, and I'm just going to cut this to fit down under there. So this one is it's a little bit too long, a little bit too wide. We're gonna narrow it down and stick it on there and go from there. All right, so this is about 3 inches too long. I've marked it like right here, and I'm gonna cut it right over here and take out this little section right here, and then move this stuff over and then weld it back together there. And if I need to add reinforcement, I will. And then that is the basic plan. That should take care of the width of it. And then that will allowed me to keep this thing here, which is like welded on at 2 points on each of these things. So it would actually be easier for me to, less welding, to just cut it there and then weld it once, as opposed to cutting this thing out and moving that around and having to weld each of these things twice. And anyways, less welding to do it that way, so that's how we're doing it. Alright, so there, we removed this little section right here, and now we're left with the main section right here, and then this other piece over here from the edge. And then if we mate these two back up again, we should have the length we want for the whole thing. Alright, so I've got the one half on my welding table. I'm gonna put this other half up here, like so. And we'll try and weld them back together. Alright, I'm going to want to do a similar thing on the length here. I'm going to cut this thing somewhere so this shortens right up. I need to shorten this up, and it's quite a bit. Almost 15 inches. Alright, so a couple hours later, and we finally got this thing all welded up and modified to our liking. Now it's just time to put it onto the actual cart. Should be able to put quite a bit of weight on this thing. Alright, so I like the wheels. They seem to roll real nice. They've got this little mechanism on there. Put your little foot on there and click it in, and then click it off, and you can lock the wheel so it doesn't roll, and then unlock it so it does roll.